We've just had the PM wrap up a big overseas trip, return here to Canberra with a few solutions still needed to be come up with before the end of the year. Joining me live now is the Australian Financial Review's political editor, Phil Coorey, who was on the trip and is back here now. It was a trip with plenty of news out of it. The big one for Australia was the thawing, I suppose, partial thawing. Maybe it's gone from the fridge to the freezer to the fridge. You know, you get the chicken ready for the next night. China relations. The big question is, does something come out of it?
Yeah, and as of this stage, Tom, nothing tangible, as they say. I mean, President Xi was meeting lots of people. There were two things going on. There was the big international story, and that was the Chinese sort of re-engaging. You know, Xi's only the second time he's been out of the country since COVID, and so for him, he was meeting everyone and everyone, and Anthony Albanese was part of that. For us, the second story was our own, you know, sort of thawing of the relationship with China, as you said. I mean, it was different for everybody. Like the Japanese and the Americans, they had these sort of icebreaker meetings, and they got a promised visit for their foreign minister to China. The Kiwis, Jacinda Ardern, met him on Friday night, and she's now going to China herself next year. We didn't even get. I think we're starting from a bit further behind with China, but
murmurs of a visit.
Yeah, look, I think as Anthony Albanese said, it was a success just to be talking again, and that's correct. You know, it's much better you're talking than you're not, and definitely the sort of heat superficially is out of it, but it's a long road back to rebuilding things.
Yeah, and because we're not giving up, you know, the so-called 14 list of grievances. Albeit there was a misspeaking on Taiwan from the PM.
Yeah, that
was just bad timing.
Is one sort of flaw, if you like, for the trip. But look, other than that, it was pretty successful. I mean, things are in better shape now than they were before the trip, and I think you can safely say that. Yeah.
Back home to the IR fight, I wonder if, depending on your point of view on the bill, and I know there's such a wide view, given we're talking about IR, but if it is watered down a bit, maybe the Senate does a favour for Labor. The Senate couldn't water down the government's, the coalition, you know, on work choices. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but does sometimes having the harder edges knocked off sort of help Labor?
Well, look, it depends what they get away with, Tom. I mean, the trouble is, you know, Sally McManus from the ACTU is saying no more watering down. She thinks they've already made enough concessions, and you know, she said, you know, a week or so ago that you'd give these things David Pocock's asking for, and the bill will become inoperable. So, Anthony Albanese and Tony Burke are under pressure, not just from the business community and David Pocock, but also the ACTU, not to cede any more ground on this. So,
but even if they get so far what they have, and like small businesses won't be caught up in it. That's true. That's the sort of thing. If the original bill was there and it was businesses of 15 that could be caught up in it.
Yeah, sure. But
then you might get.
But the ACTU doesn't want to cede on that. You know, they think there's some small businesses that should be caught up in it. So, look, they're the ones who've done this. It's up to them to sort it out. Again, you know, it makes sense from a practical point of view to split that element of the bill out and spend more time over it. But as you know, the more time you leave it, the more holes that can get poked in it, and the less chance you have of getting it through.
The review in a year might be the preferred method if they can get it passed. Just finally and briefly, gas is really interesting. Intervention might be coming if the gas companies don't play ball. I just wonder if the gas companies have done themselves a bit of a disservice. If they saw this coming and didn't whack as Australian consumers and businesses with these huge international prices, maybe we wouldn't get here. Do you see them maybe offering something rather than letting it get to government intervention?
Not at this stage, no. I mean, we're talking really primarily about the retailers here rather than the producers. I think there's been this sort of focus on the producers, but these markups are primarily coming through the retailers. And that's where the sort of intervention is probably going to be. But at this stage, no one's ceding ground. They're saying, you know, it's not our fault. Can't do it. You'll kill investment. So let's see what the government comes up with.
Phil Coorey, thank you.